I'm going to read his profile a bit because actually I want you to see what I'm reading to. Number one, he's a very patriotic Nigerian. That's what most of everybody has been saying when they saw my uh, social media share. And he's the principal at Terracorn Engineering Limited. They are based in Abuja. They've hosted me once or twice before. So, it's a company that if you need anything related to civil engineering and some of the things they do, please patronize them. And the topic is why everyone should learn Microsoft Excel. So it's going to be in the midst of sharing his journey, he's also going to be showing us the reason why everyone should learn Microsoft Excel. He's a chartered civil engineer with more than 16 years experience in that field, and there's a lot to him. He loves reading, solving analytical problems, and more importantly, he's a very good fan of Excel, and that's what has brought me and a lot of people who know him in this space. And that's what has brought us all together. And so today he's going to be sharing his unique journey. And so I call off stage Engineer Tunde Jimoh. Are you ready for us, sir? Over to you.
Yes, I'm ready.
So you can, as usual, share your screen again and take over. Yes, it's awesome. So I'll just be in the chat box monitoring and trying to ensure there is no background noise from everybody. So thank you. Take charge.
That's fine. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. To be sitting on the seats of legends. Just last week we had the journey, and when when I looked at I will be coming on today, it felt like wow. Anyway, we just have to do what we have to do. I see who have joined in, and promises to be a fun session, and we hope at the end of today's session you will all have more reasons why we should actually learn this very powerful tool. Basically, everything I'm going to be showing today is going to be showing from Excel. I decided not to do any PowerPoint. I felt okay, since we'll be talking about Excel, so let's just show a bit of what, because of us telling us about Excel, you can all see things that are actually possible in Excel. I will define my professional and my personal career in two ways: the BE, and that's the before Excel, and yes.
Okay, so I noticed sometimes your voice goes a bit low, but then most of the time it's very audible. So I just want to say maybe if you know what you can do so that it will always be very audible throughout. I just wanted to call your attention to that.
Okay.
I'll increase
the little bit.
I hear you most of the time. Just occasionally.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, so basically I just try to create a timeline of myself, and trying to show, of course I'm showing this from Excel as well. If you look at your screen, you can see, hello there, I'm Tunde Jimoh, I'm a practicing civil engineer, and I'm here to preach that you should all learn Excel actually. So I will define my professional career in two different compartments. One is the before, that's the pre-Excel era, and then Excel and beyond. I started following my dad is a welder, a successful one actually, what we call a steel contractor actually, but he is a welder. So I started following my dad to site sometime around the early 90s. And as this with many of us whose dads did not actually go to school, once you get to some age, you start to follow your dad. Hello? Are we together?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So I started following my dad to work. So at some point, it felt like, okay, I was going to be building stuff because, of course, my dad is a welder, he builds stuff and things like that. So I never felt like that. Every time I see bankers, I see teachers wearing suits, doing the cocoa car show kind of thing, I always felt can I ever do something like this? It's not active, it's not again, you always have to sit behind a desk or, in the AC, you're not moving around and all that. So when the time for a career choice came, naturally, people said civil engineering, that's what builders do. People who build stuff go into civil engineering. So I actually started, I did Polytechnic Civil Engineering, and then I went to university, did the same course, and then I graduated. But my first interaction with Excel actually was sometime around 2003, 2005, but during my internship days. We were different teams, engineers, QS, and all that. It was a big consulting firm at the time. So we're doing some stuff on Excel, and one of our IT guys, our contemporary who was working under a QS came and said, "You guys are typing stuff on Excel at the same time you're using a calculator." I said, "Yes." You just came and did one small formula, and I felt like, wow, you mean these two can do auto calculation by itself. You don't have to actually be typing in and be using a calculator again and things like that. So that was my first interaction with Excel. So naturally, when I graduated, we started the civil engineering journey, started building stuff, and somehow around 2014, I said to myself, okay, this building, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. And I just said, let me just try. Can I look at a field where engineers are running away from, to see if I can, carve it into myself and all that. So along the line, I started, I got a job actually. Somehow that's another story entirely. I got a job where, in a place where I needed to be crunching data, because of course we were doing material testing, and most of our works are always complex engineering, logic, formulas, printing, and stuff like that. Myself and my team at that time, sometimes we would actually have to wait until 5 p.m. when majority of the staff are home, because sometimes you have to print like 500 pages of a document, and you can imagine, all because we don't understand the power of Excel. We were doing it manually, and these are things we do on a regular basis. So sometimes we stay till 9 p.m. just trying to print. And sometimes along the line, after a day of printing, then the clients will come and say, "Oh, you said the project's name. Can you just change the project name from investigation of this to investigation for that?" And just because you have to now keep changing for, imagine you have to change one word for in like 500 pages of document. And after changing it, you now have to start arranging the document. You need to print it. You need to, it's a whole lot of work. And we kept doing this for like almost 2 years. And I kept telling myself, looks like, you say you sabi books more. At least you should be able to find a way of making this hectic task more easy. So somehow along the line, I saw. I don't even know where I met UrBizEdge. I don't know where I actually saw the flyer. They came to do a training in Abuja. Actually, when it comes to trainings, I'm always skeptical, because most of the time you go for trainings and you get deflated because most of the trainers haven't used the tool well enough, and they mostly just read about it and come to point on the students and things like that. So usually I usually have low expectations when I go for training. And when I went for UrBizEdge, Michael was showing us data validation. He was showing us nested ifs. He was showing us VLOOKUP. I was like, I know I was very sick in the training, but I was like, hey, this guy, what is this one? It was a whole new experience. And at some point, there were some questions I was asking Michael, and to take like 10, 20, 30 minutes to explain, and some of the other participants were not comfortable, like, this guy, your question, can't you just... So along the line, Michael said, okay, don't worry, later I will troubleshoot some of these questions. So along the line, I got introduced into the Nigerian Excel users group, and that was when my whole world changed. It was like an epiphany, because when I got in there, I started hearing things like variables, things like strings, things like events, pivot table. I was saying, sorry, what are these people talking about? It looks like it's English, but it's not quite English, because you're talking about events, talking about backing. I remember they were saying, there's this one we used to say that time, the country CSC, things like that. So I was asking questions, and the community is, till today, the community is awesome. along the line, I met this awesome man, Victor Momo. Victor Momo is a moment man. He has a middle name that is very long. I can't remember the middle name now. The guy is a genius. You know, at some point,
he is not showing again. Or I think you put from the Excel.
I've seen on Excel. Are you sure?
It's not showing.
Okay. Am I back on?
I think, yes. All right. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for the
Okay, so now, no issues. So you can see, so that was when I met Victor Momo. Every time I will run to someone, Victor will say, what if you did this? What if you did that? I remember when I found VBA very difficult, and Victor will ask, I say, okay, if you wanted to do something so, how would you have done this in native Excel? You know, it was a different, you know, it was him prompting, and you know, all these days of printing that we used to have, collating information, converting documents to PDF, it became really easy with my knowledge of Excel and then with VBA. So at some point, when we started doing trainings on engineering, people would, when you make demos of things, of your results or the engineering part of it, people would say, you did this with Excel? I would say yes. So at some point, it felt like, people were saying, what did you use to get to this formula? When people were creating charts with AutoCAD, how was using Excel? And I mean, creating dynamic, useful charts with Excel. We felt like, no, this cannot be Excel. You know, things like that. From there, you know, I moved on to VB.NET, C#. From there, I realized I needed to do some level of databases, the SQL Server, SQLite, and all that. In a nutshell, Excel is the difference in my personal career to today, because since from the point I started applying Excel probably in my daily life, it became a whole new experience entirely. So I'll be showing some of the reasons why you should actually learn this tool. I'll be telling you some reasons why you should actually learn this one. Even if whatever it is you're doing, if you apply a bit of Excel, you are going to see massive difference. So that's my Excel journey. Up to now, I use Excel, and I can probably all over the world. Excel is one of the most useful tools in terms of data, in terms of quite a lot of things you use Excel for. You know. So basically, let me now tell you some of the reasons why you should actually learn Excel. I mean, let's face it. Many of us we know reasons why we work, right? We probably want to work because we want to make our lives more comfortable. You know, we want to make more money. We want to be efficient, basically, in what you do. So how about if I tell you that with Excel you can actually make a whole lot of money? And I'll tell you something. This is account balance growing formula. What if I tell you that with Excel you can create a formula that can grow your account balance like the way you can see on your screen? Can we all see that? I mean, this person on this side of the screen, you can see is somebody I know very well. You know, that's some Excel money he's spraying over there. You know, that's the talking of. So you ask how can you actually grow money in a way that appears to be like this, and I'll tell you some of the reasons. The first one is that with Excel, you can make sense of numbers and trends. Say, for example, you work somewhere and you always have tons and tons of data. With Excel, you can make sense, no matter the volume of the data you have, you can make a whole lot of info. You can condense that data and get useful information from such, no matter the size of that data. You can make sense of it and get useful information from it. It could be that you're trying to lose weight, or it could be that you're trying to. Let's say, for example, you run a restaurant and then you want to know why. You know, just imagine that year in, year out, you are a salesperson, and every year you don't analyze, you don't try to see the things, your numbers. You don't try to say, okay, what are you doing? What was your figures like? Because if you don't try to check your figures, you can't improve. That's the way it is. You always have, when you make sense of these numbers, then some of the things that can happen is that by the time you know, make sense of these numbers, you can make efficient use of your time. Say, for example, you realize that people order amala between, let's say, 12 p.m. and let's say 4 p.m. because you run a restaurant. And then maybe before I used to make amala maybe 9 a.m. and then before people come in by 12, the amala is already cool. And then when they come, everybody starts complaining, oh wow, sorry, I'll be using amala and Nigerian food. I won't be using pizzas and big pies. So from such data, you can actually see that, okay, this is the time that I need to focus. This is the time I need to concentrate my strength on. This is the time that I really need to work on to be more efficient in what you do. Okay, say for example, you work in a bank or you work in a place where you do data. Excel is something that can make you organize your data very, very easily. I mean, there are places where they'll just call you and say, I need the score of a particular student of so time, and then, sure, just click of some button. I remember one experience Victor Omo told me when he was working with the PwC. His boss gave him a task and said he should do some funky stuff, and within minutes, he returned and said, okay, that's the answer. And his boss looked at me like, wow, are you sure you did this thing? And by the time he checked, he realized that it was actually correct. And that's because oftentimes we know, some of us know Excel to some level of use, and then we assume that's the only thing Excel can do. Excel can do a lot more. You can do basic to complex mathematical scenarios with Excel. You can do what if scenarios, say like you have like a control flow, you want to check what if this, what if that. Excel can do all that for you instead of you having to sit behind a chart and be tracing manually like they do in the 1920s. Another thing Excel can do for you can actually make more money by making smart business decisions. If you can actually troubleshoot your data and your numbers, you can actually make a smart business decision, meaning that you can actually make more money. If you actually spend more, say you run diesel on a particular time, and then you are not getting efficient use, and if you can just troubleshoot this data and you use the information correctly, you can actually make far smarter business decision. I mean, let's face it, if you know Excel a little bit and you're in the midst of people who don't appreciate Excel, you are most likely to be smarter than them, because Excel makes you stand out from the crowd. Excel is something that can actually give you status. When people run into stumbling blocks, when they run into hurdles, they run to you. When there's a task, when the boss gives the whole team a task, and then everybody will struggle and say, no, I want Michael to be on my team, I want Victor to be on my team, because they know that with you on their team, their problem is solved. I know many of us have that experience with students when in Polytechnic University days, when if they create a group, everybody would want a particular person because a particular person is standing out. Excel can make you stand out from the crowd very, very, very easily. And I'll tell you one personal experience. There's a company that we currently work for. The company, it starts with Z, but I won't mention the name. I remember the first time we did our first commission with him, and he said when we sent in a quote, and immediately he saw our quotes, he sent for us. So when we went there, he said to me, Tunde, are you the Tunde? I said yes. He said, okay, sit down. The first thing he said, look, every time I see something that is of quality like this, just from the quality of our quotes, the paper documentation, every time I see something of quality, I always know that I will get good results. But the problem is that people charge too much. When he made that statement in almost one of our first interactions, in my mind I was like, wow, just by presenting our quotes in a nice, funky manner. And here's what, these same quotes, all we just did was to get, we just took one of the templates, templates on the Excel, this thing, and then we just did a little bit of our partition, and that's all. And in that particular scenario, just because of that quote, in my mind I was like, oh, already, relatively, we already have some level of edge. Why? Because this man is already biased, like, okay, these people are likely to know the job, even though they've not worked with us before. But just because we are presenting something very nice, and he's already thinking like, these guys can most likely do the job, but they might actually charge just because of the quality of presentation, and this is just down to the power of it. I can tell you for free that this very company has taken us places, taken us to almost all parts of the country, Benin, Kano, Sokoto. They just, until today, as I'm talking to you, they have never even tried to find out, okay, where is your office? It's always just because of the level of competence that you demonstrate. That's one of the things that Excel can do for you. If you are still thinking why you should not learn Excel, I'll tell you another thing. Excel has a bit of every other thing that you probably want to do on a computer. I mean, what's the use of a computer today if there is no Excel in there? Because chances are that if you want to use, if you want to get something on a computer, if it's not a word, if you're not typing in something, you are punching in values or so chances are that you are likely going to need Excel for something. Now, there are so many, the computer world has grown so wide now, and there are so many things, so many parts of computing have become so big now. You hear big data, you hear coding, data analysis, so many things. What if I tell you that Excel has a bit of everything? And I'll tell you why. Look at the first one, databases. Even though we have data-basis tools like Microsoft Excel, SQL Server, generally structured query, Oracle, and stuff like that, that are deliberately, targeted towards databases. Excel can really do some level of data, some level of database. I mean, if you have like a data of a second, if you're a teacher, for example, and you have data of students, and you keep keeping the records of their performances or their school attendances or their whatever data that you keep, and you have it in a very structured way, at just a click of a finger, you can get almost any information you need. I mean, databases, why they are powerful is because with just a few lines of queries, you can get down to, say for example, we have over 200 million people in Nigeria, and the president calls you and says, okay, I need a particular woman that is 103 years old, and her front tooth has gone off, and she was born in the First World War. Just give you all the parameters, and within a matter of seconds, you can actually narrow it down and say, okay, there's a particular person in Endo or in Zaria. She's 103. Her front tooth is gone. She can no longer, that's Excel can do that for you very, very easily. Another thing that Excel has is data analysis. I mean, if you look up training skills and skills that are always in demand, you realize that data analysis is always one of those tools that, one of those things that people seek out. I mean, let's face it. In the past, we were having a war, a commodity economy. People were trading in palm oil, in crude oil, in timber, in gold, and stuff like that. Today, the richest and the wealthiest people are people who can make sense of data. People who can do stuff that has to do with data. I mean, look at Facebook. They target you for marketing sales. Look at Google. Look at all this Twitter and all these things. These are people who do not really have. They don't have to create like a processing company where you process crude oil to petrol or diesel or stuff like that. All they have is the ability to think and to make sense of what data. These are things that Excel can do very, very easily as well. Excel has so many tools, complex formulas, arrays, tables, pivot tables. It's Excel is a whole combination of so many tools that you can never say. Every time people say, Tunde, it looks like you know Excel, I always look at them and say, look, I don't actually know Excel. The only thing is that I can most likely do most of my Excel needs. And when I can't, of course, I can always run to people like Victor, NAU, and of course, Google is always there to always help. And that's if you know how to find it. Another thing Excel has is the programming. I mean, programming has become big deal in the whole world today. The programming makes you can grow from grass to grace, like Two-Face said, very easily with some knowledge of programming. So Excel, people don't even know there's a part of Excel that's called VBA, where you can write all manner of programs and make your life very easy. As a matter of fact, programming essentially, in some ways, has to do with the ability to create logic to some things, and then targeting, or let's say solving particular problems in a way that it's logical and can be useful, you know. So, and nested form, when you have formulas that create logic, I mean, it's just that one is not enough. I actually try to just make things that can fit in within a short time. You know, you can actually create a whole flow of things that Excel, what if this is this, pass this, if that is wrong, pass this. I think Excel can do that for you very easily. Excel is powerful when it comes to arrays. You can do arrays of objects, of, you know, of lots of things. And then of course, VBA. The VBA is called the Visual Basic Application. I'll be showing you something along that line. So that's the power of programming. I mean, imagine having the ability such that if, for example, you're a banker, you work in a bank, and every day, at the end of every day, you are going to be doing, they call it balance, right? Deposits and the withdrawal and all that, and you have to do that, you do plus and minus, then you do sum, and then everything. What if I tell you that with VBA, just by clicking a button, you can create something such that it will sum up your withdrawals, your deposits, your whatever, and then it will create a nice looking report for you, which you can even send to your boss immediately. I mean, you can actually send an email from Excel. I mean, if you're hearing this for the first time, I'm telling you, you can actually send, you can do something that will condense data, make useful insights from it, and then send it to any person you want to send it very, very easily. Excel has a bit of design as well. You'll be hearing about charting, about dashboards, graphics, and all that. As a matter of fact, if you saw my first, you would, this is actually Excel, in case you're wondering. You can see some of the edits are gone, the ribbons are hidden, and a lot of things. And you might actually wonder, is this really Excel? Yes, this is Excel. I mean, by clicking these buttons, you can see it's changing different area. That's macro working for you. I mean, it's the only, you can do so much with Excel. That's the design. Then of course, if you're still wondering why you should learn Excel, legends are Excel warriors. I mean, look at Michael Olafusi. Michael is one guy that does like 48 hours of work within. I wonder if he really sleeps. I mean, today is Sunday, and this is probably his second or third session. These are legends. I mean, Victor Momo, we're talking more about Victor Kendi, these are guys who have made money. Forget whatever it is they tell you, they have made so much money from Excel and Excel consultancy and whatever. Because imagine being someone who can do so much. It means that you can actually free up your time and do a lot more, while people are struggling for one task, and then they are probably on your 10th one. So that's one reason why you should learn Excel. Another reason why you should learn Excel is because Excel is cool. I mean, when I say Excel is cool, it's what's happening? Actually, this is an hyperlink. Let me see. It should take us to the next sheet. Okay, yeah, we are there already. Now look at this sheet now. As you can see, we have one ninja here. That should be Bruce Lee, I think. And then there's nothing currently showing, right? If I click this button, something is happening. Okay, let me see. Cancel, let me cancel. And then you see something is happening. Yes, this is what should happen actually. So you can see that Momo's School of Legend, and the motto is, if you can think it, Excel can probably do it. That's one of the mottos. Victor says that all the time. Now, just by clicking that button, you can see that I assume that, let's say for example, I'm a teacher. You have a student's ID, the school, you have the student's name. What's happening? It's not speaking. So okay. So you can have like a data entry tool. If you know that, say for example, you run a sales store. Say you run a sales store, you know, and there are things that you always enter constantly. So you can enter, say, student's name. Let's say Students name more.
Engineer T. So I
Yes.
think again your screen is not sure. I think you might have to share. Are you doing something that is on a user form right now? I guess.
Yes.
No wonder. So it's. I think you might need to share like your entire screen, not just Excel. So like when you close this share now, when you want to share again, you pick screen because when you don't pick screen, that's when team does this. So when you pick screen, to show everything plus the user form. Because currently we are not seeing the user form.
Okay. I see.
Then someone also said that maybe if you can move closer to the mic, like it sounds a bit like you're far off. Let me make that. Like sometimes
Okay.
you're not sure.
Okay. No problems. I'm trying to share now. Okay, so I'll be sharing
Yeah,
everything,
screen.
right?
Yeah, screen is better. So it will show.
I believe you are fine, all right?
Still not showing the user form.
Okay. Okay,
Behind
let
that,
me.
you will see multiple options. There will be window, there will be screen one. So screen one
Yes.
is the preferable option for things like this where uh, user form and Excel or multiple windows and Excel. So that one shows everything.
Okay. Are we good now?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, let me close this. Bring it back
Hope you have not gone too far.
in. No, I'm not going to fight you.
Okay, all right. So it was just that user form part we lost you.
Okay, no problem. I'll just do it again.
By the way, people have been commenting. So people are saying awesome presentation. Uh,
Really?
that thing. I've been monitoring the chat box.
Okay. Okay.
Victor wants to
Can you
press.
see? Yeah, can
Okay.
you see? Yeah, okay. Now, I was saying you can actually create a data entry if you run, if you have a repetitive task where you always enter data, say you run a sales store or you are a teacher, and you always have to record uh, scores of students and things like that. You can easily create a data, look at it. There was nothing on my screen before, and just by clicking a button, you can see Victor's School of Readiness came on, student ID, course, and things like that. So if, for example, I'm enrolling a new student now, I'm sure we can see my user form now. So enter student's name, let's say Momo, and then function name. I decided to use function name just to make it more. So let's say VLOOKUP, and then student score. Let's say this one scores 50. Because a good one. Let's give it 100. So you can see you can have student ID came on more VLOOKUP, and then you can see it's called 100 of 100. So let's add another student. Let's say that's Tunde now. Okay. Function in, let's say, index match. And then score. I'm not too good. Let's go next. So I have okay. So you can see we can keep adding stuff and adding stuff, like that. And if we actually want to create a PDF report of this, we can actually have just a button such that, in fact, if you want to have a sum, if you want to have the sum of this or the average or whatever kind of analytics you want, you can automate that such that by clicking any button, you can get all those results, create graphs and things like that, and then you're good actually. So this is the power of Excel. This what you're seeing is being done in Excel, and that's the legend. That's Bruce Lee. Okay, another thing. I just created a fun game. This is trend now. Staging Men Association of Nigeria. I know that's what is currently trending. So he's saying. So I just wrote just a small game. It's okay. Who is the chairman? Are we together?
Yes, I think Victor is the chairman. Coming up there first. So I'm guessing he's the chairman.
So he's the chairman of this group. So if you click Victor now and say, sorry, Legends are not stingy. Try again. So let's see. Let's try Kennedy initially. Kennedy had his birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Kennedy in area. Wrong answer. Legends are not stingy. And then let's try Tunde today. This one is saying, I will see what I can do. And then let's try it on Jazz and say correct answer. So, I mean, this is just Excel. This is just from Excel. This is like a small program, and imagine you can do so much more with some of these tools. Another thing, like I said earlier, that you can actually send, say for example, this very screen, let's say that's a report now, and you want to send it to someone. You can actually do that very easily by if you know that that's what you do every day. You can just automate such that it will pick the information, do whatever analysis you want to have, and then create your custom message and then send it. This is saying, dear Don Jazzy, I'm pleased to inform you that I shall not be joining your session anytime soon. Please note that I shall also not be involving in any freaky for now. I mean, if you follow Mr. Macaroni, he's a freaky proponent. You know, this is just three things I just said. Okay, let me just add. Of course, you can do so much more with Excel. Another thing is that I created just like a random tips. So one of the first things, if you're like me, every time I open a new Excel sheet and I see that Calibri, I say, wow, I actually don't like Calibri at all. And then I think the default is that you have 3 sheets lining up straight away. I don't like seeing sheets that I'm not using. So if I only need one sheet in Excel, I only want to see one sheet in Excel. So you can actually create your default states every time you do whatever it is you do with Excel. If you don't like the font, I actually don't like Calibri, you can always do that. You can, in fact, you can have, there's what we call custom list. You know, you have January, February. If you do, I think if you do Tuesday, and then you drag down. I mean, you can see you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that's a custom list. If, for example, you have a list of staff in your department and you want to create a custom, you can do something such that every time you enter one person's name, you can drag and it will populate with every other item you have there. It could be the list of the food items you sell, the list of the drugs, the list of your students, anything, you know. These are simple things that you can actually do. I mean, if you change your default type in Excel, your system won't crash. I used to be very scared of changing the fonts in anything, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I always feel like if you change this thing, are you sure it will not scamper something, you know? That's one point. Another thing is that, let me hide the ribbon now. Let me hide the ribbon now. This is what I did to hide the headings and the formulas and stuff. So another thing is that there are useful styles for you in Excel already. Look at, if you look on your style, on your ribbon, you can see all manner of stuff, you know, data model, headings and titles, you know, they are already preset formats for you already. A lot of people don't know. Just by, you know, just looking at this and creating, you know, just adopting some of these things alone can actually make a document to stand out. And people will think you actually put in a lot of time into creating such a document. And meanwhile, you might just adapt a bit of what you are. Like I said earlier, that you have templates ready made for you. I mean, whatever it is that you actually do, if you're a teacher or you are a medical or you're trying to lose weight or something, you can see my screen, there are all manner of templates for you. You can just pick any of this one, and then this is the sample invoice that we use for our company, and we just adapted a few things, and it became something that every time we send to people say, this is lovely. You know, these things are already there for you. Just pick, and of course, there are thousands of them online too. Business, chatting, planning and calendars, all manner of things. These are things that we can easily explore and make ourselves better at it. I mean, let's be frank with ourselves. Whatever it is you do, if you apply Excel with it, you are going to be better. That's a guaranteed. If you sell whatever it is you do with a computer, if you apply just some level of So your level of just some level of Excel, they become naturally better. And one thing with Excel, if you really apply it properly, you don't want to stop, because the more you know, the more you realize you don't know much, because Excel is very wide. Before I actually attended your UrBizEdge training, every time I wanted to do anything, I always looked up formulas. There's somewhere here where you look at the formulas, and then I'll look at what the formula can do. I never knew actually that there are so many. I mean, Excel is one of the tools in the whole wide world that has the kind of knowledge, the kind of materials that you have available online on Excel is so overwhelming. So at the time, when I looked at the volume of videos I had on Excel, it was running into, I can't remember, maybe like 10, 20 gig or something. And I wondered, did I actually look through all these videos? Because the information on Excel is so there. But all because many of us just stay put, you just you do something repetitive and it just continues to do it that way, not knowing actually that you can actually be more effective if you just apply a little bit of Excel. Another thing to note is that another thing to know is that whatever task, whatever challenge you have, there's a chance that the solution is out there. Somebody out there probably has actually encountered same and posted the solution out there. Of course, if you're not Victor Momo and Michael, who are pioneers in it, I mean, the kind of problems they have are not common, are not the kind of problems that normal people have. So chances that they might have newer problems. But if you are like me and you have any particular task or challenge that you want to do, you can be sure that if you search properly, the solution is somewhere out there. Another thing is the sourcing and filtering. That's not all Excel does. I mean, a lot of people just say, no, if you ask people, do you know Excel? They say, I know Excel. You can sort, you can filter, you can, I will always say, when somebody asks you, do you know Excel, you should look at the purpose properly before you answer, because Excel is a tool that you can't just say you know, because Excel is very wide. Excel is like a university. You have people who stay strictly on arrays. You have people who stay strictly on VBA. You have people who stay on formula. I mean, look at Michael Gehring. At some point, I think he was used to him and Bill Jelen. They used to do this kind of game where this one is this one method and this one is another method. You can like Yoruba say on Okon Waja, there are too many routes that leads to the market. And Excel does that for you. And because no two programs are the same, what I want to do with Excel, I'm an engineer. What I want to do with Excel might be slightly different from what you want to do with Excel. So there are chances that if you give 10 people 10 problems, each person might actually come with different approaches and arrive at the same answer. That's the power of Excel for you. Another thing is Moments Money School of Legends. I mean, if you're not yet on the Nigerian Excel community, you're missing, like the band will say, you're on a long thing. That's the place where stuff are made. I remember I actually added a couple of guys on the group, and they will come back and say, Tunde, I actually said I wanted to learn Excel, but the group you added to me, they are just, I'll say, that's where the thing is. So you just have to just put your head there, because that place is where it's like a university. Just throw in your question or your problem and somebody is ready to chew it. And that's how people get better. That's how legends are made, Someday I hope to become a legend like them. Like I said earlier, you can actually automate your repetitive tasks very, very easy. I mean, if you, like I said, if you have a set of work that you probably do most of the time, almost the same way, you can do custom stuff and it makes your life very easy. As you can see, everything I've been doing has been on Excel. That's just an hyperlink and things like that. Okay, since we are on, let me just show you one of the tools that I developed. I think I'm almost done. I think in 5 minutes I should be done. Yes, can we all see my screen?
Yes.
Can we all see my screen? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Now, this is
yes.
Excellent. So this is a tool that I developed, and you can see the charts are dynamic. If I click next, previous, it picks data, does some analysis, and then you can see stuff. if I come in here, let me show you. If I come in here, this is a preset chart. If you can see this chart, let me see if it works. Sometimes it comes up. Yeah, it comes up. Now, this chart you're seeing is the user form, right? It's this dot you're seeing is tracking two items. It's tracking this item and this item, and it will plot it on the graph and tell me precisely where the graph is. This is falling on ML, right? That's why you have ML here. If I close this, let's look for another one. It gives us another. Okay, this is giving us CL. So if I come and do this again now, you can see it's plotting on CL. I mean, the first time I told my team then in engineering mistake, I told him, I said, this thing can actually be automated. And I did this just with the help of formulas. It would take this thing, do lots of, if you actually watch, every time I click, you can see it rescales the graph. It makes it center. If I click 20, 30 now, it does all that very easily. And if I just click whatever data, and if I want to print this, I can just click on this where it says publish PDF. So let's say I want to publish between 1 and let's say 20. All I have to do is just do that. It will generate this, and then it will create a PDF document for me, just like it's asking me where do I want to save now. I'll save on the desktop, and I click OK, and then look at it, it's creating a document for us. And Viola, look at this. If you look at the graph it keeps changing the axis. It keeps updating such that the graph falls. Otherwise, the graph might fall before or it might fall after. It's checking everything. It's doing all this complex. I mean, this tool you are saying this is what takes us sometimes. Just to do one, it can take us like 5-10 minutes, and then just by inputting all these things, I've already done 13 numbers of that and created a PDF for me, and it's just awesome what Excel can do. I mean, I remember one of the tools that I created as well. It's also here, but I won't be showing that. When there was a time one of the foreign guys came to Nigeria, and we were discussing, and I told her that okay, Excel can do this item, and she said no, it's not possible that Excel can do that. And I looked at her. And then sometime just after that time, I created a tool that plots the graphs in a way that is very dynamic and very fun. So this is what Excel can actually do for you. So I'll be closing by saying that there's this theory of moments man that says that if you can think it, Excel can probably do it. All you have to do is actually to do it, is to think it. So there are some useful links. If you can see what we have here, that's Excel, that's Victor's YouTube channel. If you are not there yet, you're on a long thing. The kind of problems that look at this. I mean, I clicked this hyperlink and then it took me to YouTube, right? These are things that can be done very easily. And then of course you have Michael Gavin and then UrBizEdge. From the name alone, you can know UrBizEdge stands for. It means that with this can give your business another edge. That's what it means. That, and of course it's run by one of the first MVPs that we ever have in Africa. His name is Michael Olafusi, and he's our host for today. So I want to thank you. I hope you found enough reasons why you should learn this tool. If you make more money, then don't learn Excel. But if you want to make more money, if you want to make smart decisions, you want to be better at whatever it is you do, you should always do what you should learn Excel. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the session.
Wow. Well, in fact, at the point where I was trying to post something on the group and I saw that the thing you were showing you have done, I had to post what I was doing to come look at it. And, I can
actually
put it in the chat. Brilliant. That's really saying that amazing things you've done today, sir. I don't think anybody who has stayed to this end will be confused about why they need to know Excel. There is hardly anything you do that you can't improve your outputs. So any questions in the house before I go to the questions that we normally ask? I'm trying to get the link to Moment Man's YouTube link so I can share it. I've also shared the link to the Nigeria Excel Users Group. Learning mentioned that, so it's a very good opportunity for you to join if you want to up your Excel knowledge and be in the midst of all the other guys doing amazing things with Excel. So any questions? I'm trying to paste some things. Or any questions before I move on to our own questions? Yes, so Mr. T, you're Engineer T, let me not be saying Mr. again. You know, you're also a legend, so awesome.
I know.
Okay. They said the presenter has banned. Victor says you have banned him from asking questions. Okay. All right. So usually we want to know, though you've said it also, you know, like your journey, how it all started. But there is an aspect that I just want you to also maybe just talk about. If there's somebody trying to start, so someone who has listened to all what you've said, is now convinced that he needs to, you know, begin his or our own journey of becoming better at Excel. So my question is, how would you guide someone starting today? What advice would you give to someone on how to practically improve their knowledge of Excel?
Okay, first of all, what I would say is that no one can completely teach you Excel if you're not ready to learn it. That's the first thing I would say, because no two challenges are the same. I mean, I'm an engineer, and I've done several trainings in Excel. I'm very active in the engineering community here in Abuja. I've seen, you know, no one can actually teach you Excel if you're not ready to learn it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that whatever it is, the challenges you have, the solution is already out there. You understand? By just searching online and then taking that solution, and then you can then adapt to what it is that suits your own environment, then you're good to go. But of course, it might be daunting in the beginning because some of these things, people might say, no, this thing is magic and all that. But if you now take your time to say, okay, when it works, then try to say, okay, how it works. Then, when next you have a different problem, then you can then adapt that same approach, and then, of course, you can solve your problem. So, I don't think Excel is something that you can only learn when you want to learn it. If you go to a training, I remember coming to your training and people were complaining every time I asked a question. I said, because it usually took longer for you to explain. And that was because I never knew, up to that time, I never knew what was data validation, which I find very, very easy. Data validation is one thing that maybe I saw it on your screen. I remember that they thinking, wow, I thought this was programming. And this is something that is actually very simple. So the truth is that Excel has a bit of everything. And it's difficult for you to get, you can't have a perfect fit for everybody. So you have to pick the bits that suits your own environment and then apply it to your environment. That would be what I would say.
Thanks for that. I was trying to get out some lines from what you said and I'll be posting there. So, anyone starting out today should not underestimate the having the interest first. So that that interest is there. And I like the way Victor put a twist to that, what you said when in his own session. He said, look at what you think you do already. Look at the things you already do, things you can help people to do, and see how you can apply, So someone has a question. Let me just stop there. So Fumi, yes, your hand is up. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hello, thank you so much for the session. It was actually very mouth-watering and enlightening. I want to ask, where can we get data set to practice? Because to get better at it, you need to keep practicing, and you need data set to do that.
Okay, awesome question. Data is one of the easiest things available. just go to your Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. I mean, there are times I just go there myself to try and find out. I'm actually a fan of the education sector. I believe that there's a lot of really going on in our education sector because I did some analysis of the data of 2016 to 2019, and I found some gaps that were quite troubling. I mean, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is one place, and of course, there are so many data all over the place. You have the North Wind, the Chile, even though some of them, just type in the format that you want, you can. In fact, people like I remember Michael, they have dumb data all over the place. Data is actually everywhere, so data shouldn't be the challenge. Just type in online, just go Excel data, you would see, or the easiest, you just go to Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, download the Excel versions, and you're good to go.
Anyone has any other question before I move on to the planned questions? But for me, hope you got some insights from the answers on direction to go. I completely agree that someone who posted what he did from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and it was really amazing. It was like, oh, all of this you did from data you got from there. And he went ahead to post it also on LinkedIn, and I'm sure it got a lot of positive attention. So yes, I can attest to that particular data source as being something that will get you good benefit of practicing and even build your portfolio with. Any questions? Any other questions from others in the house? Okay, so another question that we would like you to answer, one of my pre-planned questions, is over your journey, what experience can you point? What experience? What I'm laughing is the things happening in the chat room. So what experience of all the experiences that you been through, even your expert level in Excel, which one will you point to and say, okay, this particular, I know you mentioned some things, you mentioned things people thought were not possible to do in Excel that you did, things that used to take hours that you were able to automate. But then I wanted to just mention one that stands out really in a very big way to you, that every time you remember it, comes with a very unique kind of emotions for you. What is that experience? It could be positive, it could be negative, but then again, we want to hear one particular experience that is symbolic for you, like a kind of a big one. Or
exactly. Let me share something. Okay, let me share. I'm trying to remember the folder name. Should be. Just give me some seconds. I should be able to. There's a chat. I'm trying to. Okay, yeah, I can actually go online. Let me go online. Can we all see my screen, right?
Yes.
Let's see it. Okay, excellent. So look at what we have here. This is a tool. Like I said, this was a chart I created that plots all that stuff. Yes, I just saw this and I actually used this formula and created it, and that's what you saw. That's this is it. It's a standard as per engineering, and I created it. Now this is one. Now this one you're saying is it's called the USCS classification system, and it's actually a chart. If you can see, I'm trying to see how it can. If you can see this chart, this is one of about I think about 4 of them, or 3, 1, 2, 3, and your soil can only fall in any of these fine lines you're seeing.
Wow.
Do you understand? It can only fall on any fine line you're seeing. So I created a tool that will track. It will follow this process, check this. If it's this, it goes. If it's this, it goes. If it's this, it goes. And it goes all the way to the end. And this is just one. It will check if it is this, or this. So when it gets the one it's supposed to get, then it start to flow. And don't forget, even this item, like I say, gravel, sand.
Yeah.
This is a product of a formula again. It's not like it direct, so you have to.
Are you there? Your audio, lost your audio. Hello? Hello? Engineer, are you there? Something is going wrong with the audio. It's not on mute.
We can hear you clearly.
It's our presenter that we're trying to find out what happened with audio. But he's still on the call, so it's not like his line has dropped. And his screen is still showing, which obviously means his line has not dropped.
Hello, can you hear me now? I'm joining from my phone.
Okay.
Can you imagine? My desktop just said restarting. I mean, I think the chat scared the computer, I think.
Funnily, your phone audio now came up. The mic came clearer than the other one. Was a bit like having some background noise, but still we heard you. So at least we saw the chat. So you were able to recreate the entire process, right?
It does all that very easily.
Wow.
So that used to actually take us time. That, like I said, sometimes we might have like 100 samples. I might actually be doing that, follow that process one by one, and that might take us like 5 days. I'm telling you. And then after you finish it, then the client will now say change the project name, and you have to change it in like hundreds of pages. But today, if you tell me, I remember sometime towards the end of last year, we did some job in the early part of the year before Corona struck. And then the client called and said, you made a mistake in one item. And I was right on the system. So I just clicked and sent it within 5 minutes. And the next time we met, he said, when we met, he said, Tunde, it's like that your software. You need to. I said, what happened? I said, initially when I saw it, I thought maybe there was a mistake. But when he sent it back immediately, I realized that there's something. I mean, we did a job sometime around February, and somebody's asking you of just one line, and you are sending it within 5 minutes in October, November, if I remember correctly. It struck him like he wasn't expecting it that fast actually.
Wow, that's a very nice one. I think no one needs further convincing that he's an engineer. I don't think Excel is supposed to be a core tool, but because you heard him say what some other people will be using AutoCAD for, what they used to use other tools for, he was able to use his knowledge of Excel to not just recreate but automate, because that's the cool thing about it. Hey, we finally are getting some audio, some video. Yes, thanks.
Hello.
So he was able to use Excel not just to recreate but to automate. So, and I bet you everybody needs some level of automation in every aspect of their work that they can, because that's what people keep complaining about, the fact that the workload never reduces, it's always increasing. So the more you can automate, the better for you. So any last words for our audience? Any advice, any general thing you want to say? And just before you say that, any question from anybody, so that it doesn't look like I didn't give everybody enough chance to ask their question.
I think Victor can answer actually.
I've seen the embargo you've placed on him.
I think the embargo is for questions, not for comments.
Okay, I agree.
No, but just to say, I mean, it was a wonderful session, and I told Kunle Babajide this during the week that I mean, Mr. Tunde is very humble. That's the problem he has, excessive humility. So he's a professor and he's a legend. And to be candid, I mean, when I see, what he's done with Excel, with VBA, and the depth to which he has taken them, I mean, I'm personally impressed and inspired. And I think his story is really very inspiring for those who are starting out. Because if you roll back to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 2016, maybe VLOOKUP index and match would have looked very strange. But, now that's a really piece of cake, and he's doing a lot more complex stuff. And when I tell him I can't do some of those things he does, he thinks I'm just teasing. But that's the truth. So, I mean, your story is really inspiring. And, thank you for sharing this with us. I know people, must have learned a lot from it. So we really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Hello, Victor. Thank you very much.
So maybe last words from you to everybody, and if there's anything you want to maybe talk about your company, I think you are now part of the owners. I don't know, but then again, if there's anything anybody needs to consult you for, please share. Whatever business that can come from these two, it's our own way of saying thank you for your time and generosity in sharing your knowledge.
Actually, these tools I was sharing, they're actually complex tools. So in my course of doing VBA and stuff, I realized that I could actually take it further. So I'm actually developing a full-blown software based on those things you saw there. Concrete testing, soil testing, because these are things that there are some level of it across over. Most of the time, companies make those tools for themselves alone because it's not that common like that, So I'm actually planning on. In fact, one of them is actually almost due to be released, and I always tell Victor all the time. So that's so we are a geotechnical material testing company, Terracorn Engineering Limited. I'm actually the principal partner. So, and we have a laboratory and we do stuff. But basically, last was whatever the problem you think you have, actually whatever the data problem you think you have, somebody most likely has actually had seen and has posted the solution online. That's one thing I would say. And then we should not get used to. I personally don't like when I do something once and I have to keep doing it the same way. I always find it very hard. So I always like to check, why don't you improve on this? Why don't you improve on that? I'm someone that I don't get satisfied very easily. As a matter of fact, that's why some of our softwares have not actually been rolled out, because I'm someone who wants something to be done the right way. I don't believe in Nigerian standards. I believe that you should do something that's of good quality. So Excel can take you places. I can tell you categorically that when I joined NEU and you guys brought me up and all that, I can tell you that my life has not remained the same. I mean, it's completely financially, everything, it's a different, I grew up thinking I could never work behind a computer, and today I can't imagine working on anymore, because it's so much fun working behind a computer, and there are so many problems to be solved. Actually, one of my friends just relocated to the UK, and we always have this argument. I always tell him, the more problems the country has, the more opportunities for individuals and corporate, entrepreneurs to carve a niche for themselves. So if you really want to grow, if you really want to be anything, Excel can actually change everything about you. That's just it. I can tell you from my personal experience. So that's it.
Wow. Thanks a lot. Maybe a sneak peek into some of what you said. Another engineer that we are trying to get is because he's trying to do Victor style for us. He's saying yes and he's not committing fully yet, but I'm going to tackle him like, how do they say it in football? I will not give him breathing space. So you see, this person is also an engineer. But this is what we have.
Don't use who? Are you not the one I saw you had?
Not more with Excel. So we're trying to bring him to come share a unique story. I don't know if you have seen Excel unusually. So that exactly what Engineer T says. Everybody, has their own interest. For him, he's focusing on calculations, the work. This other person, I think, is focuses more on the adventure side, like what animation, what engineering, adventure stuff. And these are all Excel, right? So please let us not underestimate Excel, and more importantly, the last thing is said about the fact that, you know, whenever you see an opportunity to automate something, yes, you know, do automate it. And when this tool is out, we are going to definitely share it with the house, the purchase link, not free link. Oh. The link to make the purchase, maybe you give discount, right?
No
So,
problem.
thank you very, very much. It's been a very wonderful session with you. Thank you, everybody, for being part of today's session. We hope to see you next week. If you're interested in Power BI, there's a session for Power BI later on. And if you're not, we'll see you next week. So bye.
Bye.